I'm Dan Johnson. I'm talking with Eric Evans of Eric Evans Sport Aviation, and this is your home field, so you're one of the guys, along with Chris Collins, that we come down here to see when we come to the Midwest LSA Expo.
Sure.
What kind of show was it for you, Eric?
Well, I think at the 5th year is the perfect year because the weather turned out awesome.
Beautiful.
We had great weather, even a little bit warm for this time of year here. And but great flying weather, and it really looked like to me that it paid off. I know that we had a good show, and I've talked to others that are now pulling out of the show to go home for after this long weekend, but they seem to have had a good show. So I think we've accomplished what we set out to do 5 years ago when we put the Midwest LSA Expo together.
Well, I would say everyone here has to pretty much agree. Today it's a Saturday, it's the last day of the show, and there were good crowds. I'm not talking exaggeration here. There were solid crowds of people. The airport was busy. The pattern was full of airplanes. People were flying. People were smiling. We saw the B-25 flying around. We saw the P-51 do some things. The guy did a great job in the little turbine helicopter showing that off.
Yes, he did.
Beautiful piece of work, by the way.
He did.
And you personally had some good success here. You sold some airplanes.
Yeah, we did. And you know, for Jabiru, it was a great show, and we've got some new things going at Jabiru, and this downturn in the economy has allowed us to really get in and look at what we do and try to make it better for us. And that results in two things: a better airplane for the consumer, and also, secondly, try to control cost a little better. So we can come with a very attractive offering as a new aircraft. And we all know that the used market is very lively, and we've seen some used airplanes sell at this show. So all in all, I think we're moving along.
Well, you know, here's an example. We're looking here at an airplane that I would have thought was a brand new show plane, because it's in what was the Jabiru booth. They've gone now for the day, but this is a beautiful looking airplane. You told me this is a 2009 model.
That is correct.
This is 4 years old, and it looks. You could have told me it was new, and I wouldn't have known differently. So that's pretty exciting, and I imagine it's got a price that reflects that little bit of age. But you know, as Dave was saying earlier, somebody bought this airplane 4 years ago for some number, and we don't need the numbers, but they could probably sell it today for fairly close to that number.
And that's exactly what happened. And you know, when people take care of their airplanes, this is what you get: is you get a good resale product for myself in the aviation business, but the consumer's the one that really wins because they've got an almost new airplane at a little different pricing than a new one. So it really worked out well because everybody comes with a different budget. You know, not everybody's going to go looking at the new market because of budget. And I understand that we all have our own personal budget we need to fit into.
Sure, every single person is different. There's no group of people that buy a certain airplane. That doesn't happen. People buy airplanes, groups don't buy them. Well, maybe some schools or whatnot. And speaking of schools, you've got some neat ideas about doing flight instruction that you're working on.
Sure.
So in newspapers and on digital news outlets, we hear mobile all the time. They're talking about mobile telephones, iPads, things like that. You've got a different slant on mobile relative to aircraft flight instruction. What's your idea, Chris? Excuse me, Eric.
Well, what I've done is first of all, I've seen a Jabiru here at our own field. It's proven that a light sport aircraft can withstand training. And
the mistakes that a student has to make.
That's correct. That's correct. It can take some bumps and bruises and go right back on the flight line and fly the next hour. So we've proven that. We have an airplane that has not consumed any parts other than what's called for over a 1,200-hour period. So I feel very strongly about these light sport aircraft can do this. My idea is because, you know, as we all face economic situations and different things in different communities, not always can you put a light sport aircraft at an airport and expect it to stay busy for a 12-month period of time. Right. So what I've kind of thought about is man, if I can go to maybe I don't know what the geographic area is, but let's say, you know, 150, 200 miles away and go to
from the home base.
From the home base,
yeah, okay.
And find some airports where there is, because I always hear guys saying, boy, I'd like to do this light sport thing, but I don't have one.
There's nothing near me.
There's nothing near me. Well, what I want to do is go capture that guy and then go talk to the airport and other people there and other businesses, and if I can capture 5 or 6 students and get them all to sign up at the same time, I'll commit an airplane to that particular airport.
Wow. Cool idea.
Airport.
And go spend a little time there?
Yeah.
You know, that's a marvelous idea. You know, Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain comes to Muhammad, or however that goes.
Sure.
Well, it's an airplane, for crying out loud. You should be able to take this guy, go someplace else. If you can find several customers there, that might work out really well. Well, so I understand that for a lot of people, you know, there's just not an aviation outlet everywhere like there's a McDonald's everywhere. But for crying out loud, they are airplanes. They do fly places.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. You would go to another airport. Maybe would you do that for a handful of students?
Yeah.
And then you could work with all of them and kind of plant a seed, if you will. Huh?
Sure. I'm thinking 5 or 6 students is probably enough to commit an airplane. Yet the other thing that's been a problem in the whole aviation industry is the dropout rate of students learning to fly.
Yes, that's a big problem.
So my idea is basically part of the deal. If I'm going to bring an airplane there, you've got to commit to be done with your sport license in 60 days.
Okay.
And so it's going to be a concentrated, let's get it done type program. And so then that way, number one, the airplane's not always tied up there. But then, Dan, I think that all of us manufacturers in the light sport industry are suffering because we're all selling to just one guy at a time.
Right.
And I'm thinking, if I can train 5 guys, what a lot of times do guys buy after they learn to fly?
Well, a couple of them might get to know each other, become friends, might go, hey, why don't we buy one together? We just flew this guy, you want to buy it?
Yeah.
Let's do that. And so you might actually encourage partnerships as well as training some people to fly. I like the idea of sort of saying, look, you got to get it done in 60 days. There's plenty of time, assuming the weather's good. And, some factors may be beyond your control, but mostly you can easily do it in 60 days. And my thought is that means they're not stretching it out so long that they kind of lose enthusiasm or maybe forget some of the stuff they learned at first. Kind of getting it done. It's a little concentrated, kind of like boot camp for flying. Huh?
That's correct. And the instructor side of it, yes, I've got some instructors that go on the road and travel. We haven't really totally figured that whole piece out. We might find instructors in the local area where we actually are just
to tap some local talent. Yeah.
Tap some local talent, get them the airplane, let them do it, get it done, and then we can move. And in the meantime, be selling other airports the same package. And then obviously, I'm thinking multiple airplanes running everywhere. And as this thing expands out,
you manage the activity.
Right. And as this thing expands out, obviously me being a Jabiru guy, I might even call this a Jabiru Pilot Center type thing like Cessna did back in the 50s and 60s. And there's going to be different ones in a geographic area, grabbing 300 nautical miles of region and get these airplanes out there, because I continually hear people that want to do sport but don't have a way to do it because they're local.
Don't know the airplane well enough, don't have an instructor maybe versed in it, kind of don't know where to go. It's all new brands, kind of new people. You and I both have prior experience in aviation, but here's how we know ourselves now, and they don't know us for this necessarily. So I think that's a capital idea. I wish you the best with it.
Well, thank you. And it looks like this show is maybe giving us the guy and the opportunity to do it. So we're off and running.
Well, speaking of that, we talked about this show, which is your home field. And you've got some new quarters here, I hear, huh?
Sure do. End of October, I'll be moving into a new hangar that's got a 1,600 square foot office built off the front side of it, and it's separated kind of from everybody. What I found being in the sales business, my airplanes a lot of times are not owned by me, and I bring them in to sell them because I'm a lot more effective with control of the aircraft than selling something that's, say, in California.
Yeah, right. And it's a nice airplane, believe me. And it's a lot better to go, here it is, what do you think?
And I've always taken care of my equipment, and I would do the same for the other, and I just need to get off on my own. So I've got a hangar to support that. I also you'll see the Jabiru Pilot Center airplanes being maintained out of that. I've got a Rotax certified man that can work on Rotax powered airplanes, and we might talk to some other light sport manufacturers about one of the thoughts I have is maybe setting some criteria for what truly is a factory authorized service center. And we might start that with Jabiru and have criteria of what you have to be able to do to be one of those. But then that might also feed off into some other manufacturer.
Well, I think it would, and it would almost have to make it work in some place in Iowa who says, hey, we saw that idea Eric Evans had. We'd like to do that. It's a little far for you, maybe, not that particular town, but some town too far from you. So they say, gee, could we ask you some stuff? Could we find out some things? And as there are more places where people can take this airplane or any airplane and get it fixed, and when they have a problem, there are more people going to want these airplanes then.
Sure. No,
that's great.
No, I can't get them sold.
Well, it's a lot of great information, Eric. Where do we go on the web to find some more information about Eric Evans Sport Aviation?
It's ericevansaviation.com or just evansaviation.com. We'll both come to the same website, and that's where it's at. And we're glad to have everybody at Mount Vernon for this show. And I guess the 5th year was the magic year because it just took off.
Seems to be. So I know a lot of us will be back next year. We'll be looking to run into Eric Evans here at Mount Vernon Airport for the Midwest LSA Expo. Thanks a lot for speaking to us today, Eric.
Thank you, Dan.
Best of luck with your future endeavors, and keep us informed about that mobile project. I like that a lot. I think that'll work.
Thank you very much.
I've got lots more information on all the airplanes we saw here at the Midwest LSA Expo. You can find that on buydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. Thanks so much for joining us at the Midwest LSA Expo.